What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today I wanted to showcase a hard meta team in this new season. Malamar had the foul play buff where now it's going to pace even quicker to these moves than before. Cradily as well had the buff to Rock Tomb, which honestly, Rock Tomb, I didn't have it on my radar as such a good move. I didn't realize until just recently. It's a Scorching Sands clone with a guaranteed attack drop, and Cradily is such a scary pick, as you're going to see in today's video. If you want to see more battles like this live, I stream basically every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, where you can see live insights into my gameplay and see my teams early. I'd love to see you there. The link to that is down in the description. But without further ado, let's get into the battles and see what Cradily can do. Alright, let's get into the first match. We have Malamar in the lead up against a Shadow Drapion. This is a bit of a core breaker, saying we have a grass type in the back, but Malamar is well known for being able to deal with matchups that are a little bit uncomfortable by going for Sidewave, Fast Move Pressure, as well as Superpower. Our opponent is going to throw a Charge Move, likely going to be a Crunch, which is not super effective because while we are a Psychic, we are also part Dark. They do, though, get a defense drop on us here, making it a little bit more uncomfortable where we might get farmed down if they end up playing this matchup out. Superpower is going to be shielded. I actually am going to be lucky enough to CMP the next Superpower. Our opponent is going to waste all of their energy to knock us out, and this will do quite a bit of chip damage. Our opponent does no shield the second one, but thanks to that attack drop, after that first superpower, we do quite a bit less damage than I'd like, but we have still neutralized this Drapion to the point where I think I can quick attack this down and be in a pretty good spot with our Cradily in the backline. Our opponent is staying in here, likely meaning their backline is not going to be the best into our Diggersby. They must have one answer to us and one Pokemon that's also kind of weak, so it might be like a Corsola or a Ghost type in the back. It might be, I don't know, an Azumarill and a Drapion together. That might be a little bit spicy here from our opponent. Yeah, it is the classic Azu Drape core, and we haven't seen their final Pokemon just yet. I go instantly for the Grass Knot, knowing that if they're staying in, I want to get as much damage against this as possible. If I can land this move, there's a chance that I can put them into range where Diggersby can deal with it later on, and our opponent showcasing their final Pokemon is a Ghost type, a Galarian Corsola, a Pokemon that our Diggersby would have loved to see. Having Switch Advantage this game would have instantly won us this game, but because Rock Tomb is honestly a pretty efficient move, look how much damage we're doing, debuffing their attack stat as well, and Nightshade has been nerfed this season. I can no-shield this move, and I think at this point, Diggersby is just going to win this game. In comes another Rock Tomb here in just a second. I want to overfarm in case Azu does come back in, but they are almost at their next Nightshade, so I'm forced to throw this Rock Tomb to try to get another debuff against them. At this point, though, I can come back in with our Diggersby, force them to throw a Power Gem against our normal and ground type Pokemon. If they have to waste their energy here, then our Cradily is going to have a lot of play later on. Power Gem does almost nothing, and we are almost at 100 energy. One Scorching Sands is going to be thrown. Next one is ready in just a second here. If this lands, though, they are in range where Quick Attacks plus Fire Punches will be enough to knock them out. Fire Punch at this point will either draw the final shield or put them into Quick Attack down range. What are they going to do? They opt to let it go, so now I'm going to opt to fast move them all the way down, throw a Charge Move up against that Corsola, and we should have the win in this first game. Corsola does come back in. If they shield this up, they can survive for just a moment longer, but if this Scorching Sands is going to land, it will knock them out, and it will win us this match. GG's to our opponent there. Alright, next game, we're going to see our Malamar up against a Guzzlord, a Pokemon, which is a little bit threatening for our team, right? We have Psychic-type Fast Move Pressure here with our Malamar. We have Grass-type Fast Move Pressure with our Cradily as well in the backline. No real hard check to this Guzzlord, which is a little bit scary. But with that said, we can survive a Charge Move. We can get to two Superpowers here in the Zero Shield matchup, and that's going to make it so this, while it is not the most comfortable matchup out there, is still going to get maybe a shield, maybe a lot of damage against this Pokemon, and we can will it down for our backline. Superpower number one does get a shield, which does make sense. It seems like a lot of the time Guzzlord does shield up that first attack. Second one coming through, our opponent is going to double shield, actually. Kind of an interesting play by them. So now I'm going to swap out. I don't want to give him a huge farm down there on our Malamar into our Cradily, knowing that now that shields are down, I can go for double Rock Tomb and knock this Pokemon out. Sludge Bomb does get thrown. Now keep in mind, Sludge Bomb is not actually the right play there. They probably should have gone for either Brutal Swing or Crunch or Dragon Claw, whatever else their other charge move would have been. Sludge Bomb is not super effective against a Rock and Grass type Pokemon, but maybe they did just want that raw extra damage of Sludge Bomb, but it is not type effective against us here, so keep in mind that if you are playing into Cradily in the future, Poison is not super effective. With that said, we can go for double Rock Tomb up against this Poison-type Pokemon. We are seeing on our screen Weezing is not able to survive these charge moves too easily here. They do reach another charge move, though, of their own. It could be a Sludge, could be a Brutal Swing, so I will shield this up, go for a full Brutal Swing, or rather, Bullet Seed down, and try our best to have this energy for whatever is going to come in. Of course, it is that Guzzlord. At this point, I'm going to Rock Tomb once again, put them into range where either just even Quick Attacks or Fire Punches could knock them out, and make it so Diggersby is going to try to close out this endgame, depending on what their team is going to be. I wouldn't be surprised at this point if it's a double Poison lineup, maybe a Toxapex, maybe a Clodsire, maybe a Shadow Drapion. There's a lot of Pokemon that could be in the back. It is a Shadow Drapion, which is fantastic for our Diggersby to see. At this point, I can no-shield the first, shield the second, go for back-to-back Scorching Sands, one against this Drapion and one against that Guzzlord, and we should be in a very good spot. First Scorching Sands has been reached. The second one is very soon after going to be reached by our Diggersby. In comes an Aqua Tail. I will shield this up, and that Guzzlord, even if they did have a charge move, would not be able to knock us out from this range. Crunch wouldn't be enough. I think they have revealed Brutal Swing this game already, so no matter what, Diggersby is just a little bit too bulky for them here. In comes a Scorching Sands. Our opponent likely is going to get knocked out by this move, but even if they don't, we still have a bit more fast food pressure in the tank here. Scorching comes through, knocks out the Guzzlord, and we can win in that game. All right, next matchup, Malamar in the lead up against a Wigglytuff, a very bad lead matchup here, but I can say swap our Cradily and see what our opponent is going to bring in. They are staying in for just a second, then they come in with a Ghost type. I was thinking for a second that was going to be a Galarian Corsola, but no, there's a lot of mono Ghost type Pokemon in the meta right now. This is a Dusclops, another recently buffed Pokemon. Hex is going to be a bit better than it was before, both 1 extra damage and 1 extra energy, meaning that Ice Punch is going to be spammed out so quickly, and they actually have a bit of fast food pressure against us. With that said, I have the Safe Swap energy lead, which means these Rock Slides, or Rock Tombs rather, are going to spam out these debuffs as quickly as possible, and Bullet Seed as well might be able to put them into farm down range eventually. Our opponent does opt to shield up that move, and because I have double debuffed them here, this Ice Punch is not going to do all that much damage. In fact, I can survive the next move and get to another Rock Tomb before they can knock us out. This is looking pretty good. I think I can flip switch advantage this game if they do let us land this next Rock Tomb. Let's see what our opponent is going to do. Another Hex is coming through. They have another Shadow Punch loaded. They did bait us with that last charge attack, but because Rock Tomb has been reached, they have to shield if they want to keep switch. As a Wigglytuff user, it's not surprising that they do want to keep switch advantage in this game, but I am a little bit worried that if I do go down switch advantage, there is a chance I can lose this game because Wigglytuff into Diggersby is not the most comfortable matchup for Diggers in the world, especially because Icy Wind will debuff us and they'll have a decent energy lead on Wigglytuff going into that matchup, but it is still going to beat having our Malamar against this Pokemon, so I will go for switch advantage. 2 more Charms on this Wigglytuff means that they likely will outpace us to an Icy Wind before a Scorching Sands will be reached, which means our attack will be lowered. Wigglytuff will not get 2-shot by our charge moves. It's going to come down to that final Pokemon this game. What is it going to be? Our opponent is staying in for just a second. I'm going to overfarm just in case we need energy against whatever that final Pokemon is, but this Scorching Sands is likely not going to be enough to 2-shot even with this quick attack damage thanks to that debuff. We do get the attack drop of our own, which is very nice to see, but because this Wigglytuff is so bulky, this Scorching Sands is not going to be quite enough to knock them out, and they are very close to another Swift. In the backline, we're going to see a non-Shadow Kanto Marowak. If this was a Shadow Marowak, I think we'd instantly lose on the spot, but the non-Shadow, there's a chance I can survive 2 Bone Clubs plus the Mud Slap damage. If that is the case, then I can go for 2 Foul Plays, actually just a Foul Play and a Superpower. Superpower does do a little bit more raw damage here than Foul Play. It used to do the same damage, but thanks to the rework, it is actually a bit more efficient to throw the Superpower on that second charge move, but because they are so low on this Marowak and on that Wigglytuff, and I'm going to be so low on this Malamar, this endgame is going to be extremely close. I need this to knock out, or I need to put this into range where I can quick attack them down in 1 move, or else that Wigglytuff is going to be able to farm us down here. I can quick attack down in 1, but our opponent is going to be able to swap out. I don't barely get this Fire Punch. They don't let the farm down happen. If they did, I could have gone for Fire Punch against this Wigglytuff and won the game, but very good, ambitious play by them. They're swapping back in Wiggles and knocking us out. GG's to them. Next game, a Corviknight in the lead. A bit of a tricky Pokemon for a whole team to see, actually. Although Malamar with Psywave, it does do a lot more fast food pressure than you might expect in Foul Play. Even though it did get a bit of a damage decrease, it's still going to chunk them down quite a bit. Once this Pokemon is out of the way, I'm assuming that a Cradily should be in a pretty good spot. Cradily would not want to see a Steel and Flying type Pokemon, so whittling down a Pokemon that is tricky for a backline is always a good thing. In comes a Charge Move. Likely a Sky Attack is going to be thrown here. Iron Head will knock us out here in the future, but at this point, a Superpower is going to do more raw damage than a Foul Play, so we will throw this to try to either draw a shield or get a KO. I guess we don't get either, actually, but we do come close to knocking them out. I think at this point, this is a very prime range for a Bullet Seed farm down. Might as well come in with it here and try to get an energy lead on a Pokemon that is likely very strong in the back. In comes their own Cradily on the safe swap, and unfortunately for us, a 1-turn lag on entry makes it so they get to CMP us rather than us being up a Bullet Seed. They are now tied to us, so a bit of an annoying thing that we ended up lagging here, but a Rock Tomb will be thrown. They also won CMP, which is terrible because now they've debuffed our attack before we've debuffed them, so I'm going to swap out here, save our Cradily, and even though I know there's a Grass type and a Ground type right now, they are debuffed, and potentially I can put them into range where a Scorching Sands will knock them out. Still, even with that debuff, though, I will shield up this move. I know that a Grass Dot is still a pretty efficient attack. It could do quite a bit of damage to us there if I did let it go, so I'm going to go for a Scorching Sands and see what they want to do. Our opponent likely will let this go. No, they do shield it up. That's interesting. They might be a little bit weak to Diggersby in the backline. If that is the case, then I want to keep a bit of energy in reserve just in case they do swap out here. They do have that Corviknight still available as a catch, so need to keep that in mind. Go for another Scorching Sands right now. Do they have a Grass Dot? I haven't been counting here in post-production, so we'll see if they can survive this and get to the move. No, they can't, and in the backline is going to be a Morpeko, a Pokemon which by no means can knock out our Diggersby at this point. In fact, we can go for a Scorching Sands here. Our opponent ends up letting it go, which means we can quick attack this down. We can probably quick attack down both the Cradily and also that Corviknight. So this might just be an endgame Diggersby sweep. Orwheel comes through, but it's the electric type move because that first one is always electric. The second one is dark. They don't knock us out with that charge attack, and we quick attack down through the entire team. GG's to our opponent there. Next matchup, Malamar up against a Swampert in the lead. a pretty neutral lead matchup here, honestly, but because we're not able to outpace the Hydro Cannons, I'm sure the longer this goes on, the better it gets for Swampert. Instead, I'm going to go for a Superpower, instantly trying to go for a debuff and swap out, maybe get a chip damage against him, maybe get a shield. It looks like they do opt to let that move go, and they go for a charge move against our Cradily. Hydro Cannon will do quite a bit of damage into us here. Our opponent, though, throwing the Sludge. They saw the Grass type, and they thought Sludge would be the more efficient play. Once again, though, Hydro Cannon would have been better there because Sludge and Hydro are both neutral. Hydro is just the better attack overall. So a bit of an interesting play by them there to go for the Sludge. We're going to go for Rock Tombs of our own against this Cradily counter swap and try our best to knock out their water or their grass and ground type Pokemon. I'm saying the wrong typing. This is a grass and rock type, and they have that water and ground type in the backline. That could be a little bit tricky because they do have a bit of HP on it, but they are low enough at this point on that Swampert that if I do have to either Side Wave or Quick Attack down, I think I will be able to. And comes a Rock Tomb once again from our opponent. I'm going to let it go, try to Side Wave down if I can with Malamar, but because they have so much energy, they can reach a Rock Tomb here, but they are incredibly debuffed. I don't see any reason to shield this attack up. Just go for a full farm down. Smart play for them to go for a Grass Knot there. It does do a bit more raw damage, and they likely don't care about my charging pressure as much right now. They come in with a Mandibuzz of all things, a Pokemon which is a little bit tricky for our team to deal with, but a Superpower is likely going to get no-shielded. They don't want to shield from a Malamar, but because they do no-shield that attack, now my Diggersby should be in a pretty good spot where Fire Punches are going to do even less damage, but be spammed out even quicker. They're going to be having to force to be shielded these really weak moves, right? Instead of shielding up these superpowers. Our opponent comes in with a Swampert once again here. Hydro Cannon will be thrown. Might as well shield this up, go for a full quick attack down. And once they end up throwing this move, they will not get to a second one. I have used both of my shields, but I have so much energy on Diggersby. I even have a bit of energy on Malamar, and I am almost at full HP, whereas this Mandibuzz is getting chipped down quite a bit right now. They're going to be at half health by the time I get all these Fire Punches off, and because quick attack is neutral here, over time, I have a lot of fast food pressure. They're going to be forced to throw all of their energy if they want to knock us out. I'm going to try our best here to draw the final shield. I don't think Fire Punch will be shielded just yet. They likely know I can reach a superpower with our Mandibuzz, or our Malamar rather, against this Mandibuzz, and because of that, they likely will not want to shield a Fire Punch once again, but I go for a CMP Sack Swap. Superpower going to be thrown. Do they shield this up? They kind of have to. It is the most damaging move left over in this game, so they do shield, they CMP on likely a Dark Pulse, and they likely will now knock us out. So we drain all of their energy, we got all of our energy off with Malamar, so it has done its job. Diggersby at this point only needs to reach a Fire Punch, maybe a second one, to knock out this Pokemon. At this point, Mandibuzz is pretty bulky, but Diggersby is just as bulky. Here, Fire Punch comes through, and we are very close to our next move. Even if they had 2 Dark Pulses right now, it would not be enough. They would need a third to be able to take us out here. Dark Pulse number 1 has been thrown, but at this point, I don't even get to the Scorching Sands like I was trying to. GG's to our opponent. All right, next matchup, Malamar up against a Froslass. Both of these Pokemon have been buffed this season. In fact, their pacing has been increased on both Malamar and Froslass here, but we have to keep in mind Malamar is only 10 turns to a move, whereas in the one-shield matchup, it is 21 turns instead of 20 turns for Malamar to get to 2 Foul Plays as it is to get to 2 Avalanches as is Froslass. So in the 1-shield and in the 2-shield matchup, you just win straight Foul Play. I think the 0-shield matchup might be kind of close if they survive a Foul Play, but in comes actually a triple Axle, so they boost their attack stat. Hex is a very spammy fast attack, but our opponent, realizing they don't outpace us here, ends up letting it go, and they come in with a Furret, a Pokemon, which by no means is a Malamar answer. We have Superpower ready to go. Do they want to shield this up? I think they kind of have to. If they don't, they get one shot, and if they do shield it up, then I'm going to swap out potentially and try to clear a debuff, keep our Malamar in the back line, because it seems like they're pretty weak right now to our Malamar. In comes a charge move, likely going to be a Trailblaze. It's not going to do too much. It is non-stab. It is a boosting attack as well, which means now we can lower their attack, make sure that this Furret can't ramp up against us. Rock Tomb will do a decent chunk of damage and lower this first attack to make sure it's not going to be able to sweep through our backline. Diggersby does want to avoid this Furret at all costs. Our opponent is throwing another charge attack. Trailblaze once again going to come through and ramp up their attack, but they need to throw another charge attack if they want to knock us out before we can reach this next Rock Tomb. They at this point have a big decision to make. Do they try to go for extra Sucker Punch damage against our Malamar, or do they swap to their final Pokemon? It is going to be an interesting thing to see what their final Pokemon is going to be. Malamar comes in. We're going to go for a Side Wave down, but we don't quite get it before they swap out here to their Togetic, a Pokemon which is a little bit of a core breaker to Diggersby and Malamar, but after landing this Foul Play, despite not doing too much damage, can put them into range where 2 Fire Punches as well as our Quick Attacks should be enough to knock out this Togetic. They do have a bit of health on their Furret left over in the backline, but we have to keep in mind they've cleared their boosts with that Trailblaze, so it's not really that big of a concern, and I'm going to shield up a potential Dazzling Gleam. At this point, they go for a Psyshock bait, which is a good bait, but I'm not sure that 2 moves from this Togetic would even knock us out in the first place. Fire Punch is going to knock them out with the quick attack damage here soon enough. Yeah, Gleam, not quite enough damage here to KO our Diggersby. I try to wait a turn, but the game does not visually update, which means they do get the proper catch here on their Furret. With that said, I mean, at this point, we still just win this game. Make sure that we can get another Fire Punch against this Togetic before they get a Psyshock plus a Dazzling Gleam, and this game should be ours. Fire Punch should be enough to knock them out at this point, even if it's not. Malamar is still in the backline with quite a bit of HP. We can Side Wave them down, but it is enough. GG's to our opponent. All right, next matchup going to be a Superior in the lead. Honestly, our team is a little bit soft to this Pokemon, so it is a tricky matchup to see. Psywave is neutral here, but these Vine Whips as well are going to be pretty neutral against us, and they threw after 5, so this is either an Aerial Ace or a Leaf Tornado. Fortunately for us, it is a Leaf Tornado. I shouldn't say fortunately, it's unfortunately that it is a Leaf Tornado, but fortunately for us, we don't get debuffed here with that move. If it does debuff, it is a 2-stage debuff, 50-50 chance to get that, which is so devastating if they get it early on. With that said, it is yet another Leaf Tornado coming through. We got a shield here with that first charge attack. We are going to no-shield, and this time they do get that 50-50 in their favor. They reach that charge move, and in comes a Carbink to try to catch our damage. Luckily, though, I see it a mile away. I don't throw the charge move against this Carbink. Instead, I bank 2 back-to-back charge moves against whatever is going to be in the backline, and I can throw Scorching Sands against this Carbink. Unfortunately for us, we are not able to two-shot this Pokemon with our charge moves. We will likely have to throw a third, which is a little bit inefficient, but because Diggersby is able to take this Pokemon out, I think we're still going to be in a pretty good spot. Moonblast does come through, but Moonblast is not going to be able to two-shot, especially with Rock Throw doing so little damage here to our Diggersby. We are going to try to build up as much energy as possible, because if that Superior does come back in, since I don't have a great answer to it, I do want to be able to Fire Punch it, chip it down just a little bit more, and potentially use our energy with our Malamar against that Superior, or whatever their final Pokemon is going to be. I don't think a Fire Punch would even be enough here, so I am forced to throw a full-on Scorching Sands. Our opponent likely will have to shield this up if they want to survive, but I would expect to see a no-shield and a Superior to be brought in. Fire Punch is going to be thrown. Do they want to shield this up? I'd be surprised, because they are at this point already down a shield. I can do a combo play with our Malamar. We have back-to-back charge moves. Foul play number 1 going to be thrown. I have a superpower as well that we can throw just in case they try to catch on something in the backline. It does do a little bit more raw damage. Superpower going to come through. Our opponent likely going to go down with the Superior. Down goes the Superior. We have a 2-shield Cradily in the backline. A little bit of a tricky Pokemon actually to see here, but I'm pretty sure that even just 1 shield is all we would need to win this matchup, because as long as we shield up this move and we can start spamming out these debuffs, we reach 2 Rock Tombs before they can reach 3 Ice Punches, which should be enough for us to two-shot them and take the win this game. Rock Tomb coming through. How much damage does it do to this Alolan Sandslash? It does, honestly, quite a bit of damage there. It's an easy two-shot, and this is the non-shadow. At this point, I just want to see how much damage does a debuffed Ice Punch do to Cradily. I know Cradily is kind of bulky. It's able to easily take that move, reach this Rock Tomb, and knock out this Alolan Sandslash. GG's to our opponent. They're a bit of a tricky team, very RPS team by them, but we are able to barely come out on top. All right, next matchup here, we're going to see our Malamar up against a Jumpluff. A bit of a tricky lead matchup here. We are actually a little bit weak with our entire team into this Pokemon, but our opponent going to instantly swap out here to a Morpeko, a Pokemon we have our Diggersby ready to go against, and because that was only 4 Thunder Shocks, I know for a fact that's just a Psychic Fangs. No Seed Bomb or Aura Wheel baits here. Our opponent is going to debuff our defense stat, which is a little bit unfortunate, but because I can outpace them before they reach another Aura Wheel, I can go for the Scorching Sands and try to knock them out. They could shield us up if they want to, but Morpeko never wins this matchup, so they realize that they just actually no shield, and in comes the Jumpluff. And we see something kind of interesting. That's probably why they swapped out of that lead matchup. This is a Bullet Seed Jumpluff, not going to be a Fairy Wind user like you see normally. Bullet Seed does have a bit more faster pressure, just slightly less on the energy generation front, but because it does have more faster pressure and we are debuffed on our defense stat, they likely can go for an Energy Ball and farm us all the way down. With that said, Fire Punches are going to add up. We are already able to chip down this Jumpluff, likely below half of their HP. Let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, they are almost in range. We're just a single foul play from our Malamar can knock them out, and they show their final Pokemon is a Togedemaru. This is a bit of a tricky Pokemon to see, a bit of a core breaker, because Fell Stinger is Bug type. It doesn't do much damage, but I mean, it is a Bug-type move, which is super effective against both Cradily and Malamar. So, I mean, if that move was a little bit better, it could be a little bit scary here. We can go for these Rock Tombs, try our best to whittle down this Pokemon. We don't have anything that's not resisted against them on our Cradily. Our Malamar has to throw a charge move to do any sort of damage. They've realized that, so they no-shield our Rock Tomb. And now I'm kind of worried that they might be double boosted, so they might go for a Wild Charge to snipe us down. I'm going to shield this up. It is a Wild Charge, very good shield that we were able to throw there, and they catch on their Jumpluff. That's kind of fine by me, though. They had energy on Jumpluff. Rock Tomb should be able to finish this off, and honestly, they have also cleared their attack boosts, so this is not going to be anywhere near as scary of a Pokemon as it once was. In comes another Rock Tomb. Do they end up shielding at this point? They kind of have to, right, if they want any chance to win this game, and if they throw a charge move here because they have cleared their boosts, it is going to do absolutely nothing to our Cradily. I think at this point, because Psywave is also just such an efficient fast move, we can probably just come in here, no-shield whatever they're going to throw. Even if it's a 4 times effective Bug-type attack, it's going to do nothing to us because it's a Fell Stinger from Togedemaru. It's going to do nothing. We can just shield, and we should just win this game with fast move pressure, which is fantastic to see there. A bit of a tricky matchup there in the backline, but GG's to our opponent. All right, next game, a Dunsparce in the lead. Our whole team has a ton of play into this Pokemon. Our Diggersby is our best matchup, but Superpower on our Malamar as well is going to do a massive amount of damage here, so I'm going to instantly throw it and come in with our Cradily. At this point, they could shield this up, but if they do let it go, it won't necessarily one-shot, but we do see a very early shield from our opponent, meaning they might be a little bit scared of our Malamar later on this game. They go for a charge move against us. Drill Run is the more optimal play to throw here because Grass and Rock do counter counteract those resistances. Our opponent, though, going for the Rock Slide, exactly what we want to see, and then Rock Tomb going to be thrown against what they just brought in here. I didn't actually see what it was. Rock Tomb going to be thrown against, oh, what the heck is this? They're ABA weak to Fighting-type Pokemon? That is crazy. And this is probably one of the best matchups that they could possibly have for my Cradily. They resist all of my damage. They have a lot of neutral damage against us. But I mean, honestly, I'm kind of impressed with how much damage these Rock Tombs are doing. And it's also lowering their attack stat, which means if I can bring back in our Malamar here, we can come back in, overfarm a ton of energy. They're at -2. I don't need to shield this up. I can go for an overfarm, get to back-to-back foul plays, and just set ourselves up even more. We still have a bit of HP on our Cradily. We have a shield advantage. We have a ton of energy, and we have a full health Diggersby in the backline. So this game is looking pretty good for us right now. Foul play going to be thrown. Our opponent likely will have to let this go, because I do have back-to-back. They do let it go, and in comes that Dunsparce once again. The thing is, I could let this move go, but I know that if they are already pretty weak to our Malamar, they could be triple weak to us. I guess that's not the case. It's a Lanturn, of all things, in the backline. That Pokemon is by no means a scary Pokemon to see. It would be if we had like a Shadow Gator, but because we have a Diggersby, which is probably one of the better answers to it in the entire game, we're able to come in, go for quick attacks and Scorching Sands, and knock out this Lanturn before they're able to ramp up too much. Lanturn with the Surf would actually be able to two-shot us, I'm pretty sure, after a bit of faster pressure, so it's probably a good thing that we did chip him down with that superpower. Scorching Sands should knock out from this range, but I don't think we can quick attack down if they do shield up this move. Luckily for us, they do no-shield that attack. They realize at this point Dunsparce is not going to close out this endgame. GG's to our opponent there. Next matchup, a Dewgong in the lead, a very good lead for us right now. We have our Diggersby in the backline that does not want to see this, but honestly, even our Cradily would be a pretty good matchup here. We outpace, and we also have the ability to keep up with the debuffs with our Rock Tomb, so if they do ever let us be in that matchup, it's not going to be the worst case scenario. Icy Wind does come through. I'm going to go for a superpower now. I did get debuffed with our attack stat before throwing our first move. Maybe a misplay, but I don't really like going for a defense drop before they throw an Icy Wind. They do actually swap out here into a counter user. We don't have a great answer to counter once our Malamar is out of the way, but since this is a Polyrath, I can come in here with our Cradily and try our best to absorb this counter damage and go for double Grass Knots to knock them out. They go for an Icy Wind, unfortunately. I should have thrown my Grass Knot a little bit sooner. I'm hoping at this point, though, that a Grass Knot is still enough to knock them out, or at least put them into a Bullet Seed downrange, which it will be, actually. Bullet Seed able to knock out this Polyrath, neutralizing a very scary core breaker for our backline. I am a little bit concerned that maybe it could be a double counter team. If that is the case, we are double weak to counter in the backline. This could be a very awkward game. With that said, that is doing so much damage with that Rock Tomb. That might be in range where I can Sidewave down, and if it is double counter, our Malamar should have a decent amount of play. Malamar is going to try its best to Sidewave all the way down. The debuff on these Ice Shards are making it so we have a bit more HP than we would otherwise, and in comes an Annihilape in the back, so exactly what we didn't want to see. Annihilape is going to be a very scary Pokemon, but I have so much energy here on our Malamar that I'm pretty sure I can go for 2 foul plays, and at this point, double Fire Punch should be able to close out this game, no matter if they shield this or not. Diggersby is able to come in and finish off this Annihilape. Our opponent, actually realizing that, ends up top lefting. GG's to them. All right, in the next game here, another tricky lead matchup here. Shadow Drapion is not exactly what I want to see with this team, but Malamar can go for a superpower swap out to our Diggersby and try our best to dance around this Pokemon. Superpower going to come through. Does our opponent shield this up? They actually opt to let it go, which does a massive amount of damage, meaning we can maybe quick attack this down, maybe Sidewave down later on, and we maybe just caught a move here. Yeah, Crunch going to be thrown against our Diggersby. Love to see it, and in comes a Grumpig. Now, Diggersby into Grumpig is a pretty bad matchup, actually, for Diggersby, because Dynamic Punch is a very spammy move, very efficient attack, and at this point, it probably would knock us out. I don't get a debuff here with our Scorching Sands, which means almost certainly we would get knocked out if I do end up letting it go. I don't think that the next Scorching Sands will quite knock them out here, but I don't want to get one shot. I know Sideways aren't doing too much damage to us, so I'm still going to shield this up, try to get a shield from them here, and see what they want to do. Dynamic Punch would knock us out still from this range, but Scorching Sands as well is going to draw a shield from them, and we get an attack drop, which is absolutely perfect here. In comes a charge move, likely going to be a Shadow Ball. A Dynamic Punch as well, though, would be neutral against Malamar. They Shadow Ball for that more raw damage, and in comes a Wigglytuff. Not what we wanted to see for our Malamar, but we do get a parting superpower off before they're able to charm us all the way down. In comes another charm. It does KO our Malamar, but our Cradily should be able to outpace, go for these Rock Tombs here, get debuffs, get potential shields from this Wigglytuff as well, and we should be in a decent spot as long as our energy management is on point. Rock Tomb does end up coming through. Our opponent likely going to have to shield this move up if they want to reach that Icy Wind, which we do see a shield come through, and now I'm going to shield up myself, try our best with our Cradily to just overfarm and reach as many charge moves as possible this game. Now, our attack stat is going to be lowered here, which is a little bit unfortunate in the backline that Shadow Drapion is still lurking. I have to go for this Rock Tomb to knock them out. I can't go for a Bullet Seed down, but I have so much energy that we can throw this move here, throw the move against that Wigglytuff when it comes back in, or potentially catch the attack on our Diggersby. Honestly, I don't know if this catch was a good play. It could be a little bit tricky here if they get a full charm down, but if I can reach a Fire Punch, this game is going to be ours. Let's see if we can reach it. We do barely before getting charmed down, and now Diggersby should be able to knock out this Wigglytuff. We have a full Rock Tomb ready up against that Grumpig, and Grumpig, through all all of its energy earlier on this game, so no way they reach a dynamic punch up against our Cradily. In comes Cradily. Rock Tomb should knock out the Psychic-type Pokemon, and we should have this game. Rock Tomb being thrown, down goes Grumpig, GG's to our opponent. All right, next matchup, we are going to see Malamar in the lead up against AB Barrel. A very good lead matchup here because Psywave obviously is neutral. Superpower basically one-shot this Pokemon is even better than the Dunsparce matchup because we are able to one-shot them super easily, whereas Dunsparce is bulky enough to survive. In comes a Charge Move, likely going to be a Surf, but I know I survived this move. I want to get a shield advantage, and I'm kind of expecting right now for their backline Pokemon to be at least a little bit weak to Malamar if they're staying in such a bad matchup. Superpower coming through. Do they shield this up? They do let it go, knowing that I'm very close to another one, and they come in with a Shadow Sableye. I don't want to give them a farm down here, so I'm going to safe swap our Cradily, go for a Rock Tomb as soon as I can. I want to get this debuff off before any charge moves are going to be thrown from the Sableye and see how much damage it can do. Nearly puts him into the red just with that one charge move. Keep in mind, that was only 4 bullets he has to reach that charge move. It gets a guaranteed debuff. It does a ton of damage. Rock Tomb is just kind of busted. In comes another charge attack. I know after that debuff, I survive this attack. I can likely reach another Rock Tomb against the Sableye and just take it out before our Malamar even has to deal with it. We have a full health Diggersby. We have a lot of energy on our Malamar. We're able to either draw a shield or knock out the Sableye right now, and we have put in so much work this game. With that said, a Golisopod in the backline could be a little bit tricky here, actually. A bit of a core breaker for our Diggersby plus our Malamar. With that said, we are able to go for Fire Punches and Quick Attacks against this Pokemon. Aqua Jet did get recently buffed, which is pretty interesting here, but Fire Punch is going to be able to whittle them down over time, potentially drawing shields, and we have a Foul Play ready to go against this Pokemon if I can get that final shield. We do see a shield here with that first move. In comes another Aqua Jet. I do have to shield this up. It doesn't quite two-shot from full HP, but after these Shadow Claws, we are in range where an Aqua Jet would knock us out here. Fire Punch being thrown. Our opponent likely will have to let this go, or else I can combo play with our Foul Play. The Fire Punch comes through. They do let it go, and in comes another charge move here from our opponent. In comes Fire Punch of our own, though. Fire Punch should be able to knock them out or draw that final shield, and if they do shield, I combo play. If they no shield, I can just farm them down. Let's see what they end up doing. Fire Punch is a very weak attack, but it is going to be enough to draw the shield. Foul Play on the combo play knocks out this Golisopod, and we are able to win this game. Malamar able to close it out for us here. 3-ball flex, not a single Pokemon fainted because of how strong Cradily is. It is honestly just such a crazy Pokemon. I didn't think it would be this good. I didn't have a lot of hope going into this moveset update that Cradily would be a new meta addition that would actually be, top tier, but because of how spammy Rock Tomb is, it kind of feels like Dewgong to use, and it is great coverage into the meta. It beats Lapras, it beats just a lot of the flyers that grass types normally struggle against, so definitely keep your eyes out for this Pokemon. I think it could be top tier this season. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the battles and you want to see more content like this in the future, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps out a ton, and I would really appreciate it. Thank you again, though, for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.